Good morning, everyone. It's Kat Sturtz from rockingyourpath.com, Fast Action Fridays, and the Bridges to Success programs. And I am delighted to have Alexia Brewer here with me today on this special day. She is a fierce innovator who lives outside the box. She is a mastermind facilitator, an anthologist, leader, and creative think tanker. She loves teaching entrepreneurs how to build a business by building relationships, which is, anybody who follows me knows that's one of my passions as well. She is married with 3 daughters and lives in Raleigh, North Carolina. I didn't know about Raleigh. I actually stayed with a friend in Raleigh a couple years ago when I came down to the Transform conference in Charlotte.
Yeah.
If I'd known you then, we would have hooked up. That's
Next
great.
time.
All right. So what wasn't on that bio that we should know real quickly?
Relationships are where it's at. They really are where it's at. You know, and I think so many women struggle. And if there's men on here, and I guess if the guys jump in, you know, forgive me, I talk mostly to women, although the men that I do talk to have this issue too. But it seems like we're really struggling around this. And it's quite a perplexing thing for me to understand, although I'm beginning to get that there's a lot of struggle. And yet without the relationship, it's like your business can't really flourish. So, you know, for me, that's on the bio. That's the thing. That's the real thing. And this innovative part too, you know, I try to give people, I'm like a seed planter. You know, I'm always listening and thinking and innovating and stepping out of the box and saying, why don't you try this? Or why don't you try that? And
Oh, just froze a little bit. I think Blab's just glitchy with all the weather that's been going on lately. Yeah. It's raining here too. So if we bounce out,
it's storming here.
Cindy will hold the fort. If we bounce out, just refresh. Blab gives us 3 minutes to come back in. And that's one of the reasons why I make my guest a co-host. So because I actually couldn't get on my own show one day and had the guest host run it. And I was in the chat, but I couldn't go live. I know. Now I deal a lot with women too, but I've always had like a 60, 40, 40, 60 ratio of men to women clients. And it's even friends and stuff like that. Ever since I was little, I've always gotten along really well with the guys. And it's cool. Oh, absolutely. And I've got a perspective between my first husband and my second husband. I was married 25 years before. And he really didn't have a trouble with women, but his perspective is very different from mine, the one I have now, who is not and he's kind of proud of it. He's not the typical, you know, macho guy, but, you know, he played sports. He coached hockey, men's hockey. He was a soccer referee, you know, but he's a professional chef, left a, you know, well-paying factory job to go to school and get a degree and become a professional chef, you know, leave a well-paying job for something that paid less than $3 an hour at the time. So, you know, he knows about the relationship building, but I think it's a category of both being and emotion that all of us can improve on and learn to use to our benefit and to the benefit of those we interact with. So I know you have some tips to share with us today.
I do. So I'll tell you where I kind of came up with these tips. I was asked to do a webinar on this early last year, and the person who approached me said, "Can you just outline it for us? Let's do a webinar and let's outline it." And I said, I can't outline what I do. I mean, it's just I don't even think about what I do. Well, it forced me to think about what I do, and so I kind of really went into these steps. And there are certain action steps, and these tips I'm going to give you today are the precursors to the action steps. So I've even gone like into mindset, like how do I feel online? What am I thinking about online? what's my intention? You know, before I send a friend request or before I comment on someone's post. And so these are my 5 faves. Okay. So the very first most important tip is that when we come online, we need to leave our businesses at the door. We are our most authentic when money or any reciprocation of any kind is floating through our mindset. So if we're going into it thinking, well, you know, I've got to meet Kat because I want to be on her blab, or I want her as a client, or I want to talk to her, all of a sudden we become somebody that is not our most authentic. Doesn't mean that it's not important, doesn't mean that that won't come at one point, but really showing up and leaving your business at the door, so important. And I noticed that this is what I do. I don't go into this thinking about my business.
Who are you?
Now, this terrifies most people because when you leave your business at the door, you are exposed for all the world to see. Who are you? Who are you? Right. Who are you without the business? Right. Who are you without being a web designer? Or wait a minute, and what am I supposed to talk about? So there's a lot of, again, work around that. Like, what is it about that that's so hard for you? Why are you struggling with showing up? Do you not think you're interested?
And there are a lot of men like that too.
I really just don't have anything interesting to say.
They hide behind a macho, this persona, you know. So they wear other types of labels, but they're still not authentic them. I agree with you so much on this. So what else can you tell us?
Okay, so the second thing is to be curious. You know, social media is like this living, breathing encyclopedia of so many things. You can find anything you want on social media. And yet so many of us, you know, come and we say, oh, it's overwhelming. I hear that a lot. It's overwhelming. Well, okay, it can be overwhelming sometimes, but I tell people, show up in a curious manner. Be open-hearted, be curious. Learn when you're online. Talk to different people about where they live, what the weather's like, what sports teams do they follow, what do they eat, what grows where you are. You know, I have friends from all over the world, and I'm always digging. So being curious and open-hearted.
Right. I know one thing.
So
Go ahead.
important.
I know you've got more. No, what you're sharing is so important. What I know you have more.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay. So this is a biggie too. The overwhelm piece is huge. And both men and women will say to me, I don't know where to spend my time. Where am I supposed to go? I'm in 5,000 groups because people, and you know, I will always bad talk that because I don't really know why we're in all these groups until I went into my own groups and realized how many I've
which
been
is a bad
to.
etiquette
like,
thing
I didn't even
anyway,
know
without our
any
knowledge.
of these groups. And
Yeah.
we're constantly being
We've
added
discussed
to
that one
groups.
before.
And, you know, so terrible. Terrible. But the good thing about that is you can leave. I prefer that versus these invitations to events, and you can't get out of those events. So you keep getting all these. Anyway, that's a different conversation. So I tell people, pick 3 groups. Pick 3 groups. It's better to go deep than to go wide. Pick a group that has something to do with business. Pick a group that has something to do with your personal values or interests. You know, if you like to garden, pick a gardening group.
Well, I know it's storming, and look, there she goes.
Go deep. You know, with these bigger groups, if you've got, you know, if you have a group that maybe has 1,000 members, well, it could take you 2 years to get to know all of those people or reach out and connect. And so don't keep adding groups and being kind of shallow. Better to go deep into it than to be kind of shallow and flighty and overwhelmed.
Know why
all these groups
you're in the group. I actually do more than 3, but I have clients, and I know other people that I recommend exactly what you're saying is, and I see they're in 50 different groups, but they're not participating anywhere. And it's not doing them justice. They're not being them. They're not being authentic. They're not participating. They don't know what the value is of being there. Or if you want to be playing more than one sandbox, more than 3 sandbox, switch them out as your needs change, as it develops, because different groups, they have their own life. They change over time too. And what might have been perfect for you in the beginning now changes, and it's either become more perfect or it's now irrelevant to your life, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, for sure. I tell people to be consistent. Consistency is the biggest, lack of consistency is like professional suicide online. I mean, if you come in and then we don't see you for 2 weeks, about 50,000 people have moved into your online space. You'll get crunched and crowded out. And women will say to me all the time, well,
right,
I post and nobody says anything. So, and I'm like, well, you've got to give it more than one try. You've got to be consistent. You've got to show up. People need to see your profile picture. They need to see you in different groups. They need to kind of start to recognize you. Visibility and consistency build trust. And that's what gives people confidence that this chick isn't going anywhere. She's the real deal. I also see a lot of entrepreneurs come online when they need clients and then they disappear. Then they come back online when they need clients and then they disappear. That comes across to me as very fishing. Like I'm not, I don't love that. Maybe it works for them. I don't know. But, I'm here, sales or not. That's not my intention. So my intention is to connect and to show up. So I think that's extremely important. And the last thing I tell people is to branch out. If you're constantly surrounded by the same people all the time, if you're following the same, and you see this a lot online, like I have friends that post and the same 10 people are commenting on her post every single time. Well, it does build a trust. It is good. But eventually now I'm starting to say, does she know any more than 10 people online? It almost comes across as a little cliquey. I think it's good to have that, but to be branching out. Talk to new people. If there's a redundancy, if you're feeling this redundancy,
right.
If you're joining groups
that
and the same people are in there,
people who are in that misery love company mode, and that having that same group that's always there to say, oh, poor baby, that's so bad, I'm so sorry for you, I had the same experience. That's a negative energy that it's okay to be in a negative space at times and to recognize that, but you are feeding that negativity. You are feeding that emotional void. And that's, if you're online for business, or just personal reasons, that's not a good place to stay. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And I've had people say to me, well, isn't it authentic if I talk about that? And I always, yes, as long as you can put it out there in a way that is a learning experience for everybody else. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying, I had a really bad day and here's what I found. Here's what I'm going to try tomorrow. Does anybody relate? Or, I lost the sale today. Felt really crappy. I noticed I did this, and this, but tomorrow I'm going to do this, and this.
Oh, I don't do whiny.
We all
Even my kids know, and
but yeah, you're right.
Your kids all knew. It's like, if you have something to say, find a way to tell me. But if you whine about it, I'm not listening. I know. Yeah. And you have to know your boundaries online.
But there's a lot of whining
set up before you start doing things. What will and will you not participate in? I stay away by choice on the political things. So I will share some funny ones, and I will remind people to vote, because I think your voting choice is important. But I see so many people bashing this candidate and bashing that candidate, but they're never telling me who they want to vote for and the reasons why, and so they're really not sharing them in a positive way that helps me understand them better,
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. That is such, we could do a blab on this whole conversation, because politics do speak to who we are very strongly. It's a huge part of who we are, right? I will always, if you follow what I say in political posts, I'm always bringing in the opposite perspective. I'm always like, well, I see your point. However, let's look at it from this side of the coin. What about this, this, and this? And you find out a lot about people. People don't want to hear the other side, their side or no side, and but I do think you're right. There are boundaries online. There are things. I posted in my group the word feminist. I did a post that wasn't about feminism, but I used the word feminist. I had to throw somebody out of my group. Never done it before. She got so vicious at other people. It was a beautiful conversation, actually, until she could not. She was just vicious. And, I thought, good gosh, I didn't realize. I mean, I have a couple favorite F words, but that one is not one of my favorite F words. And
right. And you point up a good point. There are bring up a good point. If religion, you have a group,
can be.
You also have the responsibility to manage that group. I don't mean control it, but manage it. And I encourage open discussion, both on my personal wall, but if somebody's just being mean, bully, deliberately turning words around to be idiotic about it, and I usually send a private message saying I've deleted or I've hidden your post because it's not contributing to the open discussion. If you'd like to post something else. I actually had 3 people comment back to me on my personal, in a private message saying nobody'd ever done that. And yes, they really would like to post again and be more open and contribute to the conversation. So, and that's part of what I do, is teach people how to be online in a conversational way that engages relationships that can benefit you and benefit them down the road. So that brings us back full circle to your first one about not posting online just because you're thinking business. I mean, I go into my strategy sessions, the free ones that I offer, and making the sale is not part of my goals. It's not written down. It's a true strategy session. Now, will I discuss opportunities to coach with me? Yeah, if that seems like a likely thing and the conversation has naturally gone that way and they are interested in more. But I never go into the conversation saying, oh, I've got to make a sale because I've got a bill coming up, And the same thing with what I post in the groups and what I share. Even if it's a promotional code, right. I only want people who feel that they resonate with what's being offered. If it's not for you, you're not hurting my feelings by not jumping at the chance to work with me.
So true. So true. Let me comment on the group. It's really everything we do online, especially if you have a group, everybody's watching how you handle conflict. That particular person, I also did what you said. I had private messaged her and I said, look, this is going in a direction that I'm not liking. I can't remember what I told her, but I said, let's keep this positive. It's great engaging. She kept on. The person she started attacking messaged me said something similar. She said, I appreciate you stepping in. And I did it in a by the time I threw her out, I said to her, it's done. This is over. We're not talking anymore. I've given you ample opportunity. So you're right. We need to be shown how we handle conflict and that there is a boundary,
right.
And that we don't have to take abuse. And we certainly are not going to let people abuse anybody else. I don't deal with that. So true. And I love that what you said. And when we need to do it, personal pages, that's a whole nother, they seem to be a free for all for, right. Nobody has any boundaries.
There's a reason there's a hide or delete button, and you are welcome to use it. It's your wall, your rules. It's like my house, my rules, Absolutely. Absolutely. So I would like you to share how people can get in touch with you.
So
feel free. You didn't give me the link like to website or to Facebook page or whatever you'd like to share. You can go ahead and type that into the chat bar. Make sure to add the HTTP part, and then it'll be a linkable. It'll be a live link.
Okay, I'm going to type in my email. First is going to be my email. Let me get in my, well, let me type that in a second.
And while you're getting ready to put yours in there, if other people are in the chat room and you would like to post
that I'm working on right now,
link to a website or perhaps a freebie that you offer or how to reach you online, feel free to do that. We encourage people to connect with one another, and always like the opportunity to help give you a little bit promotion too. I am going to post a link to Charlene Burke's and mine new program called Stand Out from the Crowd, how to be original, engaging, and effective on social media. It's a 3-week workshop with 6 live online workshops with us. Replays will be available for people who can't join us live. And this link that I just shared will give you $20 off the full price. The full price is $147. That link, if you use that, will already show the discounted price for you. Hope to see you there starting April 25th. And if not, just connect with me on Facebook if you'd like to stay in touch, or there she's back. And I'm also going to type in the link for the Rocking Your Path open Facebook group as well. I am in Alexia's group. It's a dynamic group, and I have to tell people who are listening to us live or the replay, Alexia does what she recommends other people do. So if you're in her group, if you just lurk for a while, you will get a good idea of how to actually implement the suggestions she had. I know she's in a very heavy storm area right now, and I think that's probably.
Can you see me, Kat?
No, but can't see you, but we can hear you. So go ahead and
go. See me. I can see me. That's so.
Yeah, it happens, and it says poor internet signal. I'm choosing to blame it on the weather and the fact it's April 1st.
Oh yeah, that's true. Maybe that is it. Well, I can still see you, and I can still.
Great.
People are talking. Okay.
Okay. Yep. And if somebody has a question, you can type it in the chat bar. You put a / lowercase q space and then your question. And if somebody would like to jump into that other open seat, feel free to do that as well. You can ask. There, she's back. Yay!
You see me now?
Yep, we can see you now. It reminds me of the old, can you hear me now, Verizon? So if somebody would like to jump into that open seat, add or contribute to this conversation, we have about 6 minutes left. Can you give us a good example of, I mean, we've gone through some bad examples of things to do online, how to word things. And that's one of the things that Charlene are going to be helping people understand. We will have a private Facebook group where people can practice how they compose their posts so they can share with them themselves more authentically without being salesy. Yes, everything you do is part of building your business. And that's what people forget sometimes too. There's Charlene right there. She's got a question. I'm going to take this one off and put hers on. What are good examples of building an authentic relationship online? Let me see if I can bring this up here. Chat. There's my chat. Okay. And Christopher's back with us. We had a wonderful time with Christopher when he joined us live on our 1 o'clock show the other day. So, Alexia, what are good examples of building an authentic relationship online?
All right, I'm going to tell you what I have finally concluded on this. I see a lot of women dissecting themselves into 5 billion pieces. You know, I can only post my personal stuff on my personal page, and I have to post my business stuff in a business group, and I can only post this over here. We are one person. We are all of us. All of us is who people want to know and see and get to.
Yeah, sorry, she is cutting out a bit. We're sure it's the storm in her area. She'll be right back, I'm sure.
People keep liking it, and people keep, going to this page. So I decided, I said, I'm going to start giving image tips on my page. And somebody said to me, "Are you back in the image business?" And I said, "No." She goes, "Oh." And I said, "But that's part of who I am. It's part of who people need to see. It's part of the valuable background that I have. I don't have to constantly talk about relationships, but yet that's what it's doing. It's building a relationship with people that is at a deeper level. We're talking about something that I can share with people, a part of me, a part of my value, a part of my experience, a part of my knowledge. Show up. Show a funny side, show a smart side, be silly. Whatever your personality is, let people see it."
Right. Absolutely. I have a geeky science, intuitive, spiritual side to me. And that comes out in a lot of the things I share. And you're absolutely right. Like-minded people, or people who are curious or struggling in that area, they may feel it. Because I work with a lot of closet intuitive people. They're in an environment where saying you are intuitive is frowned upon, and there's a way to use intuition in practical ways. And so that's part of my quirkiness, and I got comfortable sharing that online. Cindy has a good question here too. How much do you suggest people screen their personality online? No, she's cutting out again. Okay, go ahead.
I see you. You there? How much do you suggest people screen their personality online? I would ask you, why do we need to screen our personality? So my personality is, I'm a laugher. I love to laugh. You make me laugh, a part of me belongs to you forever. Like, I love it. And people resonate with that part of me. Like, that is a really, like, if I post a funny post, oh my God, people go crazy. I don't screen my personality.
I agree with you there. It's not so much screening where you're deliberately
talking
screening.
About
to me
things.
Kind of makes me feel like there's something I need to hide about my personality. And that's vastly different from not talking about something about your personality or your past all the time.
Right.
I mean, I left my first husband after 25 years in a domestic abuse situation that was very, very scary, and a couple of days before it was even scarier than that. And I share that in selected times and ways, but just because that happened to me, I don't have to live that fully online all the time. And I don't consider that screening my personality. I just think it's irrelevant to what I'm sharing that day. That's great.
Yeah, Charlene says, filter my words, but not who I am. Core values, general personality. Yeah. Yes. I mean, there's certain, here, I'll share this with you. I'm an F-bomb girl. I love to use the F-bomb. A lot of people don't like it. I have to watch it. I watch it because I know that, I'm careful. I drop it once in a while. I could drop it a lot more, but I do filter that a little bit. I'm a little careful because people are offended by it. They don't like it.
That's not so much screening your personality in my book. That is more being courteous of the audience and environment you're in. I can hear my husband laughing in the other room as we're talking about the F-bomb. I never said it until recently when I played the part of Martha and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. And she has to say it very strongly a couple times in the play. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done on stage. The cast would crack up and I had a wonderful director that knows how to pull things out of me. And to be able to say that and make it sound like it was part of my natural being was hard, but it was a wonderful experience in being authentic, because when you're on stage as a character, you have to authentically represent that person. And it was based on a real person. I don't know if a lot of people know, it wasn't based on Virginia Woolf, but someone else that the author Edward Albee knew. So that was difficult. And for some people to hear me say that word was a shock to them. And I said I was being a character. I don't use that word in in ordinary language. But I allow people to say it. I used to try filtering it out of things I shared because I'm not a big fan. I think a lot of people use that word not selectively, but just because they're too lazy to think up a more concise and creative way to share what they're saying, as opposed to it just being, a highlight point. And it's being used so much that I've given up trying to filter it, even on the things I share. It's like, it is what it is. It's them. People know who I am and other people are. But I think the point here is that's a courtesy that you are doing. You do the same thing in a one-on-one live space environment, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think that you do, as Charlene said, manners count. Yeah, I do. I agree. I think courtesies count. I think manners count. We have to, and then other people say, well, that's not authentic for you. Or is that authentic that I have to kind of tiptoe around?
Absolutely. And that's a choice. If you're choosing to be that way,
I do that because I want to.
That's another way of being authentic to yourself. And that goes back to us setting boundaries for what we want to present ourselves online, and not so much screen ourselves. I think it's wonderful to see a lot of people who have physical or mental disabilities showing up online in their authentic selves. We have a frequent follower on our 1 o'clock shows, a woman in Canada who has some mental diagnosed issues. She deals with them so well, you wouldn't know if we didn't know her background, and she's online. I love the fact that there's Nancy that's on PBS with the sewing show that, where half of her face is paralyzed, but she's still on air live, her face that's showing up. That's saying, this is who I am. I'm here. Take me or leave me.
Yeah. Yes. And it really gives you so much strength when women who really have they're not stepping out, and you want to say, come on, we can do this, and you can do it, and you can show up. But I think there's a lot of reasons that go into this, and why
even we've been taught from little girls,
we say things, we don't say things. You show up in a certain way, you don't show up in another way. You got to be careful, got to be quiet, don't tell too much.
We're going to want her to repeat that.
I grew up with a mother who said, be careful who you tell. Be careful who you tell. Don't tell too much.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful who you tell. My mother, be careful who you tell. I think there's a lack of trust with women. This is whole another discussion. But and it's in our DNA that there is this. I need to be careful. If I tell her, if I say this, what's going to happen? So you have to build up to it. You have to build up to it. But I will tell you one thing, the more vulnerable you are, the more open you are, and the more honest you are, the more successful you will be. I've seen it over and over and over and over and over again with women. Yep. The more they start to share, the more they start to open up.
I agree with that. I just came off the 30-day storytelling video challenge, where I happened to be one of the grand prize winners. But it was a struggle, and it was, the whole idea was to reach into your experiences, your past, your authentic self, and find ways to share that in a way that you can become more comfortable, that speaks to who you should be working with. And, you know, we all kind of took baby steps in the beginning, and towards the end, I finally got into talking more about my past. And at first it was like, how do I bring up the domestic violence, or the fact that my daughter sent me a certified letter to not come to her wedding because she was still mad at me for divorcing her father, you know, or, you know, things about my writing background. And I finally found ways to say, here's a moment in time of my life, and tied it to something to a lesson that I learned from that was resonating with people, you know, and without asking anybody to do anything other than to visit me, because we were supposed to include a CTA, which is a call to action. You know, people connected with me. My list grew. You know, I've got some people signing up for strategy sessions. So will it help my business? Absolutely. Was it uncomfortable? Absolutely. Was it mind-blowingly effective to share more deeply myself and my background in ways that still feel a little scary? Absolutely, but so worth it. So,
yes. Yeah. Yeah, you strike some, you speak to something very important. We seem to feel like if we don't reveal our deepest, darkest secret, we're inauthentic. There are certain things I'm not going to post on Facebook, but as you say, I can pull out lessons, feelings, emotions, struggles, learning, failures, whatever around that issue without, putting it all out there. There are some things that need to be discussed with a priest, a coach, or God, and they don't belong on Facebook, in my opinion. But there are lessons there that I do believe in struggle. You can say, exactly. I had a struggle. Exactly. Here's what I learned from that we can all grow from. Right. You know? You don't have to lay down the whole, your holy grail and your deepest, darkest secrets. That's
and really, our perspectives unless you want to.
About, I mean, if you want to,
we can't change what happened in the past. But we can, often our perspective of what happened changes as we learn the lessons from the past and learn to apply the lessons we learn going forward. And I think when you're comfortable sharing things like that and the lesson you learn, that's what resonates with people. And again, we're talking about when you're authentic, you end up working with the people you are meant to work with that will get the most benefit from working with you. All right. Well, we are 8 minutes past our 11 o'clock hour. Sure. I am so glad Alexia Brewer was here for us today. Check her out online. And I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn. Thank you so much. All of the wonderful questions we had. Just a reminder that my friend Charlene Burke and I will be doing Stand Out from the Crowd, how to be original, engaging, and effective online. A great live class where you're going to be able to bring out that authentic you in an awesome way online. And we're going to give you places to even practice that. So that is it for today. I'm going to post that link one more time. There it is. Yeah. And this goes actually to a Eventbrite page. And if you'd like to connect with either Alexia or myself, follow us on Blab and Facebook. And thanks for Arlene. Yes, the registration page. And this is Kat Sturtz from rockingyourpath.com, hoping you find the best ways to rock your unique path to success.